callouts in there we would agree to address as a condition of any approval this board may grant us tonight. We also received some email correspondence from the board's planner. Again, I thought very constructive comments. Again, we would be more than happy to address those as a condition of any approval this board may grant us as well. Mr. Chairman, I brought a couple of witnesses. Unless you have questions, we did serve and publish notice of our application before this board tonight. So being a by right application, having made notice, I do believe before this body's jurisdiction as a planning board for our amended subdivision application. So anything for me, I'm fair game. Otherwise, I'll bring up my two witnesses.
Okay, why don't you bring your witnesses up and have them sworn in first, okay? Together. Mr. Kingsbury will administer the oath.
Gentlemen, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be truthful, truth, nothing but truth, self and God?
Yes.
Thank
And this is Joe Friero. He's with the applicant. He's our applicant representative. But our main witness in chief will be Joseph Romano. He's a professional licensed surveyor for Land Engineering and Environmental Service.
And I testified most of the year.
Still have your license?
Still do.
You familiar with this application? And did you bring some exhibits to show the board?
Yes, you should.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that this board please accept Mr. Romano as my surveying expert for our
Okay.
application.
Anybody on the board have an objection? Hearing none, it's fine. Is it approved?
I don't think anyone can see one. I want to make sure that Mr. Taylor can see these. Yes.
I don't need to see them.
It's perfect.
Mr. Romano, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Why don't you walk us through that subdivision plan and our application?
Sure, so the subdivision plan is, basically stays exactly the same. We're creating 5 lots into 4, and the area that the DOT made us amend is in this area of this access easement, and it necessitates the change in the geometry that was spoken about. It is a little hard to see on this exhibit, so this one is much more complicated.
And that's Exhibit A2,
This
Mr.
is
Romano?
Exhibit A2, and it just shows the difference between the two geometries. The red line is proposed, the purple line is what was previously approved. Pretty straightforward and simple and uncomplicated, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately.
I wonder why the state made you curve the west side and not the east side of the highway.
I believe that's a site plan issue, but I can only speculate that that is due to the right-hand turn coming out.
Right, but there's a right-hand turn coming in too, and they can do that. Their problem, it's not yours. I'm just wondering why they, now that I see it, I go, well, it's like half done.
Well, we're seeing more and more of that with applications out southern New Jersey at DOT. I think we're getting a change in the review staff, and we're seeing more and more where they're trying to encourage, I'm not an engineer, but we're seeing more and more like slip-type maneuvers into highways where they try to avoid that abrupt tractor trailer or straight truck ride out. And I think that's really what you're trying to do is soften that approach to the highway. That's our best supposition that we discussed internally.
Not your problem, but it's just curious.
Yes, sir. But that said, we know that we're up against that, and so that's our subdivision application tonight. And again, I think we had some pretty good review comments from your engineer and planner. Those are things we can readily address going forward if we're granted an approval tonight.
I do have one question. I remember when it first came through, and you can see it on the drawing, that the first, 100 feet of the driveway was maybe wider than the remaining 200 feet of the driveway to allow, I guess, if I recall correctly, vehicles to pass one another. And does this state change actually narrow that a little bit?
I believe the site plan's unchanged
Yeah.
from what it was.
Yeah, I don't think our site plan comes into play here. I think we still have the same access that's involved. I think we still have the free movements that were approved by this body before. I think this is really just focused on our approach to the highway, and this, really what it does is it changes our proposed lot line with the Seagull Holdings property where the Nissan dealerships live here.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. So, members of the board, professionals, that's our application.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions?
Is that the only entrance and exit to the property?
That is to our warehouse, yeah.
No, there's a,
No, there's
Yeah,
other,
I'm
there's
sorry.
other roads.
I misspoke.
There's a jug handle that involves a land swap with DOT, which we have an application pending, and that would be here. We'd be taking the near side of jug handle in exchange for a reverse jug handle. And there's an access point straight through the property right here.
Right.
Okay, so in theory, people, the truckers would prefer to use the
Correct.
second,
Correct, there's a full, would be a full moving jug handle there, traffic light.
right?
That's to allow the
I just-
trucks to, heading westbound, to make a left turn, if you will,
Correct,
down Lawrence Boulevard to the warehouse
correct.
and other properties.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. I apologize for misspeaking.
And you said, Counselor, you said that you're going to consolidate two lots.
Mr.
And
Morano?
I think they're on the other map, in the upper,
Yeah, they're in the detail in the upper left.
right?
So we're consolidating lot one, west. 103 to 201. They get consolidated and reconfigured a little bit into proposed lot A, the proposed lot B, which is a Nissan dealer, and then proposed lot C is just a little, I believe that's for telecommunications.
Okay. All right. Can you help clarify one question that I have? It's on page 2 of Michael Floyd's letter, and it's in the middle of the page where the owner is, it talks about Seagull Holding and make reference to lots 1.01 and 2. I think isn't that 2.01?
Yeah, it should be 2.01. I
Okay,
believe.
I thought that's what it was. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions or comments from our professionals? Mr. Miller, no? Mr. Taylor?
The only comment we have, Mr. Chairman, and we reviewed it, it doesn't require any variances. There's probably about 2,000 square feet that shifts from the larger Black Creek property and actually makes I believe the Seagull property gets about 2,000 square feet larger. So the only comment, both of those projects received approvals, but they have not fully perfected all of their revisions, adding the trees, fixing the drainage. That's part of resolution compliance. We just ask as a condition of this approval that all of these new lot lines and lot areas be reflected on both of those site plans. The Seagull Nissan dealership will probably require some curb reconfiguration. The applicant has requested that that be handled as part of resolution compliance, which we're fine with, because it's probably going to be moving a couple parking spaces, adding a few on the back. As long as their numbers don't change, we don't think it really rises to the level of an amended approval. We just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. It's really going to be a really minor tweaking. If it does trigger some kind of a waiver or variance, either one of those projects would have to come back before the board, but we recommend that be included sort of as a condition of approval.
Okay, thank you. No other questions or comments from board? I'll open public comment. Can we get the people who are online first, if they have any questions on this application?
Sure, there are 4 residents online.
Can they hear us?
They can. I don't see any of them unmuting themselves, so
Okay, so I can assume there's no questions from them?
correct.
Anybody in public have a question or comment about this application? Hearing none, I'll ask the board, what's your pleasure? We'll need a motion and a second in terms of what action we want to take from the board.
I'll make the motion that we grant the application.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Ms. Tyndall, second. Any questions on the motion?
Subject to the conditions set forth by our planner, correct?
Correct. Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mayor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall,
Yes.
Mr. McKay,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Ms. Costco, yes, Mr. Kroll
Yes. Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We greatly appreciate the approval and look forward to working through this.
Okay, we look forward to seeing the project progress.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You too.
That's crazy. What you do. Why you turn in there, why do you have as well?
Yeah, like softening it up a little bit. You guys gotta come.
Okay, the next case is R&M Development. It's the development on Bancroft Lane. We have a request that that be moved to the November 2nd meeting.
Yes.
I need a motion, by the applicant, by the way. I need a motion and a second to carry it to the 2nd, November 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions on the motion? If not, roll call, please.
1 second, please. Mrs. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. McKay,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci,
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Ms. Costco, yes, Mr. Kroll
Yes. The next case is Longbridge Farms, case 18-04A. The applicant has also requested an adjournment to November 2nd. Need a motion and a second on that?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? I have one. Two issues, and it involves the case B, R&M Development. Do we need some clarification on the name Longbridge Farms versus Longbridge Estates? Or is that not up to us at all to clarify? That's my one question. My second question is, I have received some phone calls from folks in the immediate area requesting a traffic study. So my question to our professionals is, when is it appropriate to let the applicant know that we would like a traffic study?
So I'll answer the first one first. In terms of the naming, the Revicchio property that's on the agenda this evening, that has been known as Longbridge Farms LLC for a number of years. Through the course of the approvals process, the R&M development project behind the Pep Boys, that has sort of established itself to be called Longbridge Estates. I don't know if there's any real case law on it. Usually it's the first one to get their approvals and start construction gets to name their development that. I have passed that along to the folks for the Revicchio Longbridge Farms. So they, with their contract purchaser, are working to get a new name for that development to eliminate. So we will have a little confusion through these approval processes, but that will be straightened out.
Okay. And regarding a traffic study, when do we ask for that is my question.
Well, the board can ask for it. They've asked for a submission waiver from providing a traffic report. It is a permitted use. If the board, at the hearing, the board will get to either grant the submission waiver or request some modified traffic statement, waive it completely, or require one, either in conjunction with the preliminary. They have only asked for preliminary approval. So the board could ask for that as a condition of preliminary and prior to final, or ask for some limited testimony. But you will get the chance, we can pass along the question or the concern to the applicant's team, if that's something the board would like us to do. And then when they're back here November 2nd, you all get to tell them face-to-face what any of your concerns may be.
Okay. My only thing was, I know it's going to be requested, I know people are going to come and ask about it, so I thought maybe we could head it off, let the applicant know about it in advance, and maybe it will help the whole process. But, okay,
Well, they requested a waiver, so I think you have to listen to their pitch as to why they're entitled to a waiver. I don't think that's a decision that ought to be made tonight.
no,
About the applicant being here.
correct, no, and you're right, it's not part of the continuance, but I wanted to alert everybody that the issue is going to come up, and I figured if we can have them know about it a month in advance, it's better than
That's a good idea.
just being courteous about it. Okay, thank you. Well, then, we'll have a roll call on the motion in second.
Sure. Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci?
Yes.
Ms. Costco? Yes. Mr. Kroll-Pfeiffer?
Yes. The next
And if,
one,
Mr. Chairman, if I can on that one, just for clarification, the Longbridge Farms project will provide new notice. I believe that the R&M will not be required, so it may make sense to make a specific announcement to the public that it is carried to November 2nd. There will be no additional notice. The Longbridge Farms Revicchio property will actually provide new notice.
okay. I think we had confirmation on that from the applicants, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Case D 21-08A is the Core One Industrial Project. It's the warehouses off of Mary Way. They have also requested an adjournment to the November 2nd meeting. So I need a motion and a second on that.
So move.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Costco? Yes. Mr. Kroll-Pfeiffer?
Yes. Next, the minutes for the September 7th meeting. I need a motion to accept the minutes and a second.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the September meeting.
A second.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McKay? I'm sorry, Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Ms. Costco? Yes. Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll-Pfeiffer?
Yes. Next, we don't have any resolutions. We have numerous pieces of correspondence. And I need a motion that the correspondence be accepted and filed.
I make a motion that we accept the correspondence and file it.
Second.
Okay, questions on the motion? Anybody have any? And I'd just like to point out to the board, read correspondence A and B, because it pertains to Longbridge Farms, which is going to be discussed next month, but you might want to read through the comments from the county, and I think that's it, so, okay. Roll call, please, on the motion.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Costco? Yes. Mr. Kroll-Pfeiffer?
Yes. Professional comments? No,
No, sir.
Kingsbury? Nothing, okay. Board comments?
I have two questions.
For case D that's getting postponed to next month, have we heard that before?
Which one?
D,
B?
yeah, the one that's along Mary Way, have we heard that?
That's, oh, D. D
Yeah,
as in
D.
David, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the two warehouses on Mary Way. And it hasn't been brought to us previously, but it's been discussed.
Okay,
But we have not had any official, in a joint land use board meeting, no.
all right. That was my one question. And the other question is, maybe someone on the council can answer this, but are all of these warehouses that are being proposed and that are being approved and whatnot, are they all pilot?
No.
No. Okay.
Not all of them,
That was the question.
not all of them.
Okay. So how many?
I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss that right now. It's not, no, but no.
Okay.
Okay, we're now at public comments, and I'll turn to, in the audience first, because I gave the folks online first shot before. Anybody in the audience have any public comments they wish to make the board aware of? Here, seeing no indication. Anybody online?
We have 2 people online for public comment.
Hearing none, I will close public comments and request adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
That was nice, unexpected, but nice.
Did pretty good. Steve? Did you get my message?
How's your daughter doing?
Has been a while. How are you?
All right.